Hello and welcome back to the Route 1 show. We're taking a look at Leeds United now, and I'm delighted to say joining us on the show again is Jayson Booker. Jayson, thank you so much for joining us. Before we get to kind of a review of the transfer window, we've got to start with the FA Cup 3-1 against Accrington Stanley. What were your thoughts on the game, mate?
Well, we took care of business. Didn't we? We took care of business. I've only seen extended highlights. I was at a wedding, unfortunately, on Saturday. But from everything that I've seen and heard, there were still familiar problems. We still gave up a lot of chances. I was watching it on the tracker at the wedding, and I saw that they'd had like 6 shots on target to 6 shots on goal, should I say, sorry, to our 1 on goal after about 10-15 minutes. And I'm like, oh God, it's going to be one of them again. But the positives, we did play some good stuff. We moved the ball well. It was nice to see Firpo chip in with a goal. I think going forward, I don't think anybody's got a huge problem with Firpo. It's his defensive antics. But I'm quite happy for him, to be fair, because nobody likes to see anybody suffer. And it clearly he is suffering, or he has suffered a little bit. Pat played extremely well from what I've seen and heard. His assist for Firpo's goal, I thought, were absolutely magic. But it's what he's got in the locker, innit? I saw Rutter Jorginho show some really good moments. So yeah, I mean, it's a result that we should have expected. You know, scored 3 goals, 3 decent goals. Jack with a good finish. But still conceding 1, still a little bit sloppy to concede 1 against the opposition that we did. It looked like such a Leeds goal to concede, even against a team bottom of League One. So, yeah, similar frustrations, but positives to get through. And a tough tie coming up, but winnable. Either Fulham or Sunderland away are not unbeatable. Both are good sides. Fulham, especially away, will be tough this season, but we've got an opportunity to get through again. So yeah, overall happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I did watch the draw live as well, probably for the first time in years, absolutely years. I know I felt like kind of a buzz, before the draw. I was thinking, is it, you're invested, aren't you? When your club's still in it, and you think, actually, absolutely. The draw's a bit like, I do agree. I think it's one of those, it's away again. I can't believe how many times.
Have you seen the statistic?
It's
12 straight cup ties, FA Cup ties away from home. I think I read 27 out of the last 31 have been away as well. How is that possible? It's a coin flip. It's a 50-50 chance. It's crazy.
It's just unbelievable, isn't it? And I was thinking, please, can it be a home tie just for once? But again, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But it's still a good chance. I mean, it's not. I mean, to be fair, if you're talking about top 7 teams left, I think, is it Manchester City, Manchester United, and that's it that left, that the big boys.
Yeah.
Obviously Liverpool bowing out as well. So it's a nice distraction from the league, isn't it?
It's winnable. I'm not going into it thinking, well, that's a waste of a game, or we should rest players for that. We should go for it. Like, that is a winnable game for us. And it'd be a fantastic distraction to have a really good cup run. I know Newcastle are in a completely different place to us right now, but they're buzzing at the moment because of everything that's going on around the club and the things that they're achieving. And then to get to a League Cup final, it's massive. It's absolutely massive. So yeah, I'm right behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yesterday saw the transfer window slam shut. It's been a busy month for Leeds, but I think overall a very positive one. We're going to kind of review it, break it down. We'll kind of start with the signings that have come in. So I don't know if you saw much of Rutter against Accrington. I thought very exciting a game, but him, Verba, and obviously McKennie. I mean, that's stellar, isn't it? That's a stellar window for Leeds, really.
Absolutely. I mean, coming into the signing of Jorginho, I think most Leeds fans wouldn't have really known much about him. I think you jump on Wikipedia and you see his goals and assists and you're like, he's not really that player, but he has got bags of potential. When Hoffenheim won him, when Hoffenheim signed him, there were a whole bunch of clubs in for him at the time. We have to remember his age. You can see how much raw potential he has, even from the moments against Accrington. It's still football at the end of the day, and you're still dribbling at pace or whatever it may be that he's showing in his moments on the ball, especially. he could have had a couple of goals. He probably should have taken at least one of them, I thought. But he looks like he's going to be a real signing for Leeds. So yeah, I think, you know, the options that we've now got in them wide positions are just incredible. Verba, I really rate Verba. From the second he came on against Cardiff, you could see that he was commanding, dominated his area of the pitch. He's, you know, commanding them around him. He's a leader instantly. It looked like he was ready to lead the people around him, even though he was new to the environment. He can play a couple of positions, and we don't want to get into playing people out of positions really, but he's going to be certainly more natural at left back than Struijk is, and probably Junior Fairport from a defensive point of view. So I think it's a great option. I actually think he's going to end up playing at centre back, by the way.
Yeah,
I think that's where he's going to end up. And then, yeah, I mean, finishing on, you know, Weston McKennie, I mean, I think most of us were kind of in the Unahi camp or nobody. I think that's where we thought it was going. I think we're going to end up spending more on McKennie than Unahi, and whether his profile is perfect for what we needed as a direct replacement for Click and to fill the squad or not, I'm not sure. McKennie is very different to Unahi, but I think McKennie's a more exciting signing. I think he's a more ready-made signing. And I think he suits the environment better. He's going to slot straight in. I mean, the relationship with Tyler that you've seen on a bit of social media in there, I love all that. I think, you know, the best teams are made from things like that. And, you know, his story is incredible. I'd encourage any Leeds fan to go and watch a bit on YouTube about him. He's got an unbelievable story from his dad being in army camps over in Germany, and that's how he got picked up over there. And you can see all sorts of different things about how he started in the football system over in Germany and then went back to America. It's incredible. He's a natural athlete and he's super talented. You don't play nearly 100 games for Juventus without being some player. So, you know, Leeds fans getting the knickers in a twist about, you know, him as a signing, they just don't know what they're talking about. That's my conclusion. So,
I mean, how tasty is a midfield three of him, Rocker and Adams? I mean, for me, that feels like a proper midfield now, a proper Premier League standard midfield.
I agree. I completely agree. And, you know, then if any of them do drop out through injury, we can revert back to, you know, the 4-2-3-1, and we can play, you know, Nonto, Sinistera and Jorginho maybe, or whatever, or you can bring Brendan in. There's all sorts of different things that you can do. I think that this will be a huge boost to Brendan Aronson as well. It'll allow him to naturally come out of the team without feeling like he's been dropped as such. Dropped, if you get what I mean, he will be dropped, but you know what I mean. He's coming out for a bit of a different reason, and he'll be able to integrate back into the squad when his confidence is right, his form's right. He'll get minutes, you know, when he can be more effective, last 20, last 30. And I think it'll be huge for him as well, because he has struggled. But I see the midfield the same as yourself. I think it'll change to a 4-3-3. McKennie and Rocco will probably be in front of Tyler in some sort of triangle kind of direction. And that's the way it'll go.
What did you make of? Did you see the comment online about Weston McKennie being too good for Leeds? Did you see any of that?
Alexi Lalas.
Yeah,
I did see it.
Too big for Leeds.
I mean, there's a difference. Too big and too good. Right? Yeah. So it's definitely not too big for Leeds United. Because Leeds United are a massive club. We get lost in it a little bit, but we're still one of the top 10 clubs in the Premier League. And the Premier League is still the most sought after league in the world. We've seen that with the amount of money that's been spent. So I don't buy that at all. Is he too good for Leeds United and where Leeds United are right now? Probably. It probably is. But that's a mark of proper investment, proper, you know, progression and where we want him to be. And they're the kind of signings that we need to make if we're going to make that step up. You know, we've taken the advantage of the opportunity that we've created for ourselves with having Jesse Marsh, with having Tyler Adams, with having the 49ers behind us, and we've been able to attract somebody like Weston McKennie, who's a Champions League player. So, yeah, it probably is too good for us, but that's where we want to get to. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
Do you find yourself with like renewed optimism for the season? Because I felt getting into the January transfer window, I was kind of looking at it like, oh, you know, we're on another winless streak and we're in quite a perilous position in the league. But then these signings, I mean, they really feel like they've lifted things, even though we've not had a win in the Premier League since, you know, whenever it was, November or whatever it was. But it kind of feels more optimistic, doesn't it?
It kind of feels like it's almost made it disappear. And I think it's just because we haven't had many league games. in this kind of last 2 weeks. Certainly, we've had 2 FA Cup games. We've had that as a distraction. We've been winning games because of the FA Cup. I think that's helped. I would completely agree. There's new optimism. However, I do think it disappears extremely quickly if we don't get, I would say, a win in his next 2 games. And I know one of them's against the adversaries from across the pond. Well, not the pond, but across the Pennines. But I think it does disappear real quick if we don't, because I think Marsh has everything he could have wanted now. He, even the players that have gone out, I think it's a benefit to him. I'm sure, we're going to get onto the outgoings as well, but I think the squad is everything that he could have wanted now. He can't have asked for any more. So if we don't pull the results out, and at the end of the day, we've only got the games left to play that we've got to play now. We've got to make sure that we get the points out of them games. It's irrelevant looking at the games that we've lost points in now. This is where we are. He has to go and make it happen. And I've seen a lot of fans saying exactly the same, whether they were Marsh in or Marsh out. The biggest fans are even saying the same thing online now. He's got everything that he wants. He could have wanted. He needs to go and get the results.
Yeah, there's nobody else in the crosshair now, is it? It's Marsh, and he's got to get going with this. I mean, I personally, I would love it to turn around for him. I would love it to get going under him. I really would, because I think, he tries so hard and he's getting so much stick for things, whereas if it was going well, I don't think anyone would blink twice. Yeah. But he has got to deliver now. But I was thinking, if it doesn't work out for him, with that squad now, I think some top-class managers will be looking at that and going, sign me up.
I agree. I think, and I watch a lot of Leeds content, and I think it was Connor. I don't know if you watch Connor. I like it. I like his stuff a lot. Yeah. And he was saying the other day that he's absolutely convinced that even if Leeds survive by the skin of the teeth come the summer, they'll still bullet him. They'll still get rid of him and move him on. Yeah. And I can see that. I don't think the 49ers have got any sort of loyalty to Jesse Marsh. I think they're investment people. They want to make money. They need a club in the Premier League. And if they don't see Jesse Marsh to be the right person, they will move him on. So I agree with that. I think if we survive by 2 or 3 points, I think he'll be gone in the summer, and then we'll have the opportunity to make a big appointment. This team now as it is, I mean, we were speaking a couple of weeks ago about this team and how you'd compare it to the other teams and which teams you would swap it with. I kind of revised myself a little bit when I looked at afterwards, especially after the signings, and I started to think to myself, this team is definitely capable of finishing 11th or 12th. Yeah. Easy now. Overachieve, you would be in the top 10. You start looking at the likes of Fulham and the things that Silva's done with them. You can't help but think, well, hold on a minute, we've got a team that'd compete with there, surely. So, I think it's all on Jesse now, and he has to make sure that we finish 7, 8, 9, 10 points clear at the bottom 3. We're comfortable going into the last month, I would say.
Yeah, and plus to convince a player like McKennie to get involved with the project, you're not selling a relegation battle, are you? You're selling, look, we're a project that's growing all the time. And I think one thing that I found reassuring about this transfer window, because I'd heard kind of things before about, is this like a managed decline of Leeds where, you're just kind of pulling the investment out a little bit. You're not putting too much into it, 0 net spend. And it's kind of, are you kind of getting into that thing where, well, if we survive, we stay up fine, but it's still a business model that works. But with the investment, thank goodness, it kind of rules it out. There is ambition there, and we do want to move this thing forward. And I think I hope it catches fire under Jesse. I really do. Just before we kind of get on to the games coming up, because I know we're going to preview the Forest game, another addition, Diego Monteiro, I think. Very young centre-back, Portuguese, just turned 18. He's come in. A lot of good reports about him. I've never seen him before. Plays in the Swiss league. Could be one of those fast track to the first team, do you think? And possibly could be Llorente's replacement, really.
I mean, I'd love to come on here and say that I know loads about Monteiro. It'd make my footballing knowledge look extremely good.
Just pretend.
I definitely don't. He looks like some profile. I've seen clips. He looks very much like a Ben White. He's the only kind of comparison I could really think of in a Leeds shirt. He's got that kind of stature. His delivery of his passes are very effective. He gets the defenders turning with his accuracy of passing. He's a monster for his age. He's 6'4" already, just turned 18. I think he will be in and around the squad. I wouldn't imagine to see him starting very often if everybody's fit. I hope that he comes in and shows himself to be good enough to fill the void at centre-back if Koch and another are not fit. So I hope that we can avoid Ayling at centre-back or whoever at centre. You get where I'm coming from. Whoever at
two
centre-back.
left footers.
Yeah, I hope that he can fill in at that role should we need him, rather than having to pull and then put him on the bench or whatever. So, but it all depends on what position we're in, doesn't it? If we're safe with 6-7 games to go, he'll probably get some game time. If we're not, and then you've got to rely on your experience, players to kind of fill in, then it's a different story in it. But yeah, hopefully a big future. I don't know what it says about Charlie. I know that there's been a lot of talk about Charlie. A lot of people, really angry with the link to 4 million and commentary. I get that. I understand that. I saw the other Brownie on the other show yesterday saying about which other England under-21 player would go to a championship club for 4 million quid, and there isn't one. Which other England under-21 captain a year ago would you sell for 4 million quid? You wouldn't. And it's a great point. Only Leeds United would look at doing that. It's a very Leeds United thing. So I'm glad that he didn't move on. It doesn't look good for the summer though, because he's even further down the pecking order now. Clearly Jesse doesn't fancy him.
What's happened? I just don't understand. Where's it gone wrong? Because a year ago this guy's touted as future captain for Leeds, and I'm just like, what where has this come from? I mean, I know his Millwall spell has not been great by any means, but to get rid, to actually think we don't need this guy at all. I mean, surely you keep sending him on loan for a couple of years and just see if he develops into something. But to get rid, why?
There's no patience in anything nowadays in football, though, is there? I mean, the Harry Kane loan system gets mentioned all the time, and it ain't going to always work as perfectly as that. But it is a great example of a player that can go out on loan, not really impressed, go out on loan again, still not impressed, go out on loan, get a bit better, and then all of a sudden progress at the right time into probably in the top 5 number 9s in the world. So, and I'm not saying Charlie's going to reach them heights, but there is a progression stage. The Championship's a difficult league. You come up against some experienced, technical, very good strikers. He needs a full season like he's having at Millwall, and then probably another full season like Ben White had. He had a season at Peterborough, then he had his season further up. I forget who he went to.
Newport County.
It was Newport, then it was Peterborough. Yeah. So he went League 2, League 1, and then he came on loan to Leeds, and the progression was right. And then he had a season at the Premier League level, and then moved on to Arsenal. Sometimes that's what it takes. I think Leo Hjelder's in the same position.
I forget how many we've got out on loan.
Yeah.
What about Hjelde?
Some player. I mean, he's playing at Rotherham now. He's on loan in the Championship himself. So fingers crossed he can, progress on as well. He's a few years younger than Charlie, so he's probably got a little bit more time on his hands, and he can play a couple of positions. Whereas Charlie is very much out and out centre back, isn't he? So, but yeah, I'd be very disappointed to see him move on for anything less in this window than 10 million quid. Championship team that'd be prepared to bang up 10 million quid and maybe 25-30% sell on fee, and maybe even a 25 million quid buyback clause. Something a deal that's structured like that really suits Leeds. So I'm glad ultimately they didn't move on.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of the other youngsters going out on loan. Then we had Gellart who left for Sunderland. And we've also got Drama who's left on loan again as well. Good moves for them, do you think? I mean, not much to say about Izza really, other than just hopefully they can have a good spell and come back in the summer and maybe they'll get their opportunity then possibly.
I think Cody's a real funny one because Cody, for me, I've seen loads of him at under 23 and he was always fantastic. He was, for me, the best player at that level, better than Gellart, better than Greenwood. He was the one that stood out to me the most when I was watching them. I really, really rated him. And obviously he did what he did at Cardiff. But he just can't seem to break into the first team for whatever reason. However, I do think that this loan is designed with him coming back and being part of the first team. I think that we're probably into the last 6 months of Luke Ayling. His contract expires at the end of the summer, at the end of the season. I think he will be let to go, which will be sad, but it needs to happen. Progression needs to happen. He's a championship fullback. He's a championship fullback. Top end, but he's a championship fullback. Or a Norwich that gets promoted that goes back down, or a West Brom that gets promoted that goes back down. That's the level he's at right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully Christensen can acclimatise himself and come on because we've invested in him, and Drama can really push him and maybe even start in front of him. So I think Luton's a great move for him. He's going to play every game. I actually think he's better than James Bree, who Southampton have signed from Luton, and that's why Drama's gone there. So I think it's a great move for him.
We got a great assist as well, didn't we?
Yeah. He played well yesterday from the bits that I saw. Gellert needed the move. It's an absolute must, but I think there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders now. He needs to go there and really, really play well for this next, 5 months, 6 months, if they get to playoffs, whatever it'll be. I think it's a huge period for Joffin to stay fit. He carries so many little niggly injuries that stop his development. Huge 5 months for Joffin. We were all very excited by him a year ago. Scored some really, really crucial goals. But this season, he's not impressed me at all. I don't think he's had a good performance, which is sad to say, really. So maybe the system suits him even less than it did last year. Maybe that's part of it. But
compared to Nonto, it's just
night and day.
Yeah. We know he's got the talent, obviously, and like you say, he just needs to. People develop at different times as well, don't they? So
I still think he's caught in position as well. I don't think he knows his best position, and I don't think the clubs, i.e. us, and even the 23s to a point, are playing him in the right position. We played him on his own at times. He's definitely not an out-and-out number 9 that can play by himself. Does he then play 10? Does he then play on the right and cut in? I think that's a big thing that we hopefully can see at Sunderland.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the most surprising outgoing, Diego Llorente, moving to Roma. It seemed to come out of nowhere. I think there was quite a few open mouths at that one, especially after signing him for a new contract a month ago. But looks to be smart business because now we can get a decent fee. I think, is it an option to buy or is it an obligation to buy? I'm not too sure. But if we recoup our money on Llorente after the last couple of seasons that he's had at the club, fantastic business. But how surprised were you that he was out the door?
I think there was something put out by, I think it was The Athletic after he signed the contract about, I think we spoke about it briefly, about the valuation of centre-backs and, protecting the valuation of centre-backs and whatnot. And now that he's moved on, it's made the club look extremely savvy. It's made them look really smart. So I was kind of surprised, not at all disappointed. He's injury prone, he's a bomb scare. The first season of Diego Llorente, especially the back end, we spoke about it with Pascal, he was fantastic. He carried the ball out really well. He read the game really well. He overperformed, he certainly did, but this last 2 seasons, he's been hard work to watch. He constantly gets caught underneath the ball, misreads the ball. I think he's got a great move for himself. And I think the Serie A is good for him. It's a lot slower. I think he'll probably impress. So hopefully, it is definitely an option to buy. Hopefully, he either impresses Roma enough or impresses someone else enough that they'll cough up 10, 12, 15 million or whatever to sign him. Yeah, good business.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's one of them players, I do feel sorry for players like that in terms of when it just starts to go downhill for them. And he put a nice message on Twitter as well. He thanked the fans for his support, and you kind of thinking, I really wish it had turned out different because I really liked him when he first came to the club. I thought he was fantastic, and even this season against Chelsea, he had such a strong game against Chelsea, for that win, and you thought, maybe it's going to catch fire again, but unfortunately not. Now, an interesting story's come out today. We were talking about it before we came on to record. Is Jack Harrison nearly moved to Leicester? And it was a lot closer than perhaps we knew at the time. Because yesterday night, it was like, I don't think it's going to happen. But apparently he went to the training ground and it was very close. But then Leeds got cold feet and pulled out of the deal. Generally, I think it's good news with, it's an extra body in the squad. It's someone who's experienced, etc., etc. Where did you stand on that? Because when I told you were thinking, that's a bit... Well, we really nearly let him go?
I think nearly letting him go without a replacement for 20 million to Leicester in the full context of the picture would have been a real problem. That would have been a real boo-boo by Leeds and what's been a fantastic window. I think the fee is so difficult because the market is so all over the place. I've seen people giving it, well, Anthony Gordon went for 45 million, so Jack Harrison's worth at least 45 million. No, it doesn't work like that. Just because Anthony Gordon isn't worth 45 million doesn't mean that Jack Harrison is. That's the first thing. Newcastle have hugely overpaid because Chelsea wanted him, because he's English, because he's 20 or whatever Anthony Gordon is, because Everton are in the position that they're in. There's all sorts of different things that factor into that. However, selling him at 20 million, which I think would be undervalued, to Leicester, which surely we would be able to inflate the price because of how close we both are in the league, doesn't make sense. I think if you're getting an unrejectable bid from Leicester of 35 million, because he's only got 18 months left on his deal as Jack, I think fine, fair play. And then you bring Zaniolo in, which looked like was going to be the offset, and everybody's happy. But the way that it kind of materialised, no, I would not have been happy if I'd have heard it had been 20 million quid to Leicester and we didn't sign a replacement.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I am not against selling Jack Harrison though. You know, we spoke before we came on air about where he now is. I think he probably is fourth or fifth choice in this team in his position. I think
I agree.
You've got Nonto, you've got Sinisteri, you've got Jorginho. Straight away, them three are starting before him. You then could argue that Somerville's in front of him when he's fully fit. But I think he is too, but I think Somerville will probably get a lot of niggly injuries. That's just how he seems to be. And then you could argue that Brendan will play over him too. So, you know, when you look at it like that, would we miss him terribly? Probably not. And, you know, we do need to have some outgoings as well as incomings.
Yeah, because there was a bit of an outpouring on social media yesterday about Jack Harrison, and it did feel slightly overinflated, dare I say it. I mean, he's been a great servant for Leeds, one of the key players for Bielsa, but he's always been inconsistent as Harrison. And I think with this extra talent that we've brought in, I think you're right. I think he does shift down that pecking order anymore. But at the same time, I would say maybe this can spur him on to reach a new level potentially, you know, because that competition, you know, straight away, I mean, you know, he has impressed when he's come back into the team, albeit against lower league opposition. It's amazing what that can spark off that competition, isn't it?
He has got it in his locker. It's not that Jack's not got the talent. It is purely confidence. It is so much in his own head that he just can't, if it goes wrong for him in the first 15 minutes, he's out of the game, and that's it for the next 75 until he comes off. Like it is frustrating with him because he's definitely got it in the bag. You said it before we came on about him playing behind closed doors. Different player, because it just doesn't have that same level of pressure on his shoulders. It looks like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders when he plays for Leeds United sometimes. So yeah, but you know, going to the outpouring, I have this thing that I say it on Twitter all the time. People don't actually watch games of football. They see the ball go from defence to attack and either go in the net or go wide. That they don't actually see what goes on, or they watch it through statistics. You know, in the same season that Rafinha kept us up, he scored 8 and assisted 8, or whatever the statistic was. That doesn't tell you the picture. Watch the game, watch what's going on in front of you, and you'll see why people are a bit reserved on Jack Harrison. That's all I can say on it.
Yeah. I mean, the classic one with Jack Harrison this year was he'd lost his place in the team, and we were playing Wolves in the League Cup, and Wolves were on a horrid run of form, and this was a great chance to progress in a cup, and Jack Harrison got his chance. He was starting. He was terrible. He was terrible. I was really frustrated with him because I was like, you need to step up in these situations. You've got to, you know, you're one of the senior guys now. Come on. But you know, there you go. That's Jackie, isn't it? Hopefully he can get to a new level, and we'll see. You know, I think it's not the worst thing in the world that players move on. You know, it's like you say, we've got to recoup money. We've got to get money in as well as out. Anyways, looking ahead now. So we've covered the transfer window. I think all in all, we agree it's been a really positive one for Leeds. Absolutely fantastic. Best
8 or 9 out of 10. 8 or 9 out of 10. I'd say.
Best January I've ever known, really.
Oh,
I can't
definitely.
think of anything, nothing comparable, really.
Yeah.
But it's a huge 2 weeks now for Leeds. You look at the games, we've got a massive game against Forest, we've got 2 against Man United, and then we've got Everton away on the 18th of February. Looking at Forest on Sunday, it feels for me now, this is where it really, really starts now. We need a win in the Premier League. We went through it last week. There's no easy games. There's an excuse why we won't win every game. We've just got to start doing it, haven't we?
Absolutely. I mean, again, we were talking just beforehand about, how it's going to look for Jesse if he doesn't take results out of these next couple of games. And I think now he's got everything at his disposal. He has got to go and get some points. And I think the time for excuses is over. It really is. Even going away to Forest, that is a winnable game. And we have to go there and take 3 points. It can't be a case of we come away from it. Oh, we only, we got a point. We're a good point, or we're away from home. We've lost, whatever. We have to win some games because this is what we've got left. The games now between now and the end of the season, some difficult ones away from home, or some more winnable ones, but they are away from home. Mm-hmm. So, but that's what we've got. So it's on him. It's on the boys. I'm going to be a bag of nerves before the Forest game. I think it's...
I've started already.
Yeah,
I've started already, honestly. I'm already kind of thinking, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like the pressure on that game, it's just going to be building up, isn't it?
It is. It'd be interesting to see what he goes with as well. Will he start McKennie? Does he come straight in? And we go straight to the 4-3-3. If not, what of attacking four do we go with? Is the Rodrigo rumour true?
6 weeks or something.
6 weeks down with an ankle. That'd be a shame, and then he's got to get back up fully fit again. But anyway, we'll come to that. Who do we play? I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited by the game. I just hope we turn up, we impose ourselves, we solid at the back, and we take the 3 points. It's the be all and end all.
Absolutely. I mean, not to kind of pick on him or anything, but I'm kind of glad that Llorente is not an option coming into that defence.
Absolute facts. I had a right debate with somebody the other day about the fact that they thought that Llorente had to play because he's right-footed. No. Like I know that would be the optimal, that we'd have a right-footed on the right side, left-footed on the left side. But if the right-footed is worse defensively than the other options, you play the left-footed centre-back. For me, that is just an absolute must. Against Forest, I'd be really tempted to start Junior Firpo. I've got to say I would. I'd be really tempted to start Firpo, especially if we go 4-3-3. You're a little bit more defensively solid in front of the back four. Play Firpo, play Tyler, and give Tyler the instruction to cover them fullbacks, get the fullbacks down the sides, and start Verber and Struijk, or Verber and Cooper, whoever, them two. Verber would be straight away on my team sheet in that back four, and then another. I'd probably play Verber on the right side. I think he'd probably be more composed than the other two.
I know what you mean. I'm looking at Firpo and I'm thinking, is he ready for a Premier League game now? Because he has been impressive in the couple. I would say he got beaten so easily by an Accrington player at the weekend. It was classic Firpo. It was like he didn't need to do much to get past him. Firpo just seemed to be running in treacle and no defensive positioning, no defensive awareness. Going forward, Greg's got the goal and everything, but defensively, and my only thing is, with Struijk, you're going to get more defensive solidity, but the attacking threat is seriously diminished.
I've had so many conversations with Leeds friends and whatnot about Firpo. I've not been able to stand him. From pretty much his debut, I've said, this guy is not right for us. He's not right for the Premier League. He cannot defend. And it's true. He's an awful defensively. Yeah. But it depends on how it fits into the system. And going forward, he has got attributes that we don't have. I think Jack Harrison could play it. If I'm honest, I've thought this before about Jack playing there, but I don't know. I think he clearly doesn't want to play there with Jack. So I think Firpo, as long as he's got the options around him that can cover for him a bit defensively, I think he would be a good option going forward. And I think the Forest game would be maybe the opportunity to... It scares me a bit, but it might be...
Who will Forest have out there? God, who will Forest have out there like going at us? Oh my word, I don't think I want to know.
Brennan Johnson won it. He'll probably be the best player as well. Or do you start Verber there and start Struijk and Cooper? Verber is probably going to be the most natural left back, even though I think he should start centre back. So
Did I have a couple of? Do you know what? I love Pascal Strout, but I don't think his confidence as a centre back has quite recovered from the mauling of last year. And I think actually, defensively as a whole, I think last year, because we took so many pastings, I think there's a fragility there with some of those players from that team defensively that you can still see. You can still see. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I agree completely. Almost like a tentativeness to
Yeah,
go and step on because they're worried about getting hit behind. I mean, up until Verba coming in, and Leeds fans will go mad about this, I still think that Cooper has been our best centre back.
yeah.
This season, he's been our best performer, which is a real problem.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
so
No, I totally agree. And I noticed as well because I wasn't thinking, oh, that's Cooper's fault. I was looking at Cork. I was looking at Stroud. I was going, what are these guys doing? Come on. Just one thing. I know it's a bit off point, but you might not notice obviously because you didn't catch the full game. But Meslier, I mean, he was really shaky against Accrington. He had the crosses, and I don't know if you've noticed this with Meslier. If he has to kick the ball further than about 10 yards, it never goes to a Leeds player.
Mm.
And I've been watching this over the weeks, and I'm going, do we need to give him a rest? I know he's an incredible shot stopper, but
I think
I'm looking at Meslier a little bit, and I'm just going, he kicks the ball for these long kicks. It never gets to a Leeds player, not even by chance or luck. It always goes to the opposition. Just like, come on.
I think instruction's a big thing on goalkeeper kicks because it always seems to me as if he's targeting the wing back. And if you get that a yard wrong, it's going out for a throw-in, and it makes him look particularly bad. And I think because we've not got really the profile of defenders to carry the ball out, quite often he's left to go long instead of giving it really short. Tries to give it to a fullback, he gets it back, and then he kicks it. So, I know what you're saying. And I think Meslier in general, we still have to remember just how young he is. Yeah. You know, we are not in a position where we're going to get an Edison or you know, an Allison or whoever, a complete keeper. And even them, they make mistakes. We're going to have a diamond in the rough. Even after this amount of appearances, he's still incredibly young. And given all that he does give us on a positive, we have to take some of the negatives. That's just the way that it is with a keeper, I think.
Yeah, and I have to caveat what I'm saying there by the, you know, I absolutely love the guy. I think
I know what you're saying.
Potentially is huge. It's just when you're kind of up against it, you just need things to just kind of happen a little bit more for us.
It was nice to see him come out and be really positive about Leeds the other day. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
He basically just said, you know, he's happy, he wants to stay. Like, you know, he sees his progression in his future. I think that's massive because I think his ceiling is huge. Yeah. I think he's Lloris's replacement all day for France, and I think he could play Champions League football 100%. Once he's fully progressed, given his age, I mean, keepers don't get to their peak until 30. So
he came into the team when he was like 19, didn't he? And he, you know, I mean, I remember his debut against Arsenal in the cup, and that's what I don't get because he was pinging these balls, 60, 70-yard passes on people's feet.
Yeah, I remember.
I was just like, where did that long range passing go? You know, strange, but like you say, tactics and everything else, you know, we'll wait and see. So yeah, it's a huge week coming up, and if you had to put a bet on it, which way do you see it going, Jason? Just to put you on the spot there.
It depends what I'm listening to, whether I'm listening to the head or the heart. Like, given the recent performances, I have to be somewhat confident going into the Forest game. They're not a great team. They're there to be beaten. They've got some good players, and I think Steve Cooper's a good manager. But all that said, given the optimism, given Weston hopefully coming into the team, I think we can go there, and I think we can win the game 2-1, 3-1, something like that. That'd be my prediction.
Oh, I'd love that. Absolutely.
We're gonna score goals. We're gonna score some goals.
How many games does Marsh have left, do you think, if results don't turn out? Because I agree. I think the board won't hesitate. I don't think they will. There's no sentimentality. I think they'll just, you know, especially with this money spent now.
It's a great question, Browne. Like, I think he has to get a minimum of 5 points from the next 4 games. Now, that can be broken up in all sorts of different ways. But if he was to come out of, you can't be expecting it. It's very unfortunate how we've got Man United back to back. It is. And realistically, we shouldn't be winning either of them. But at home, we should hope that we can get some out of it, given the day, given what we've got, given the crowd and all the rest of it. So I think maybe even 6 points, but then it's how does that work out? You know what I mean? We're going to look at them 2 games either side, but they're both away from home, both tough games. Sean Dyche now at Everton, and all the change that's going to make. We have to win them 2. We absolutely have to win them 2, given the position that we're in. So yeah, I think it's in smaller stages. The next 2 games. If we lose the next 2 games and lose them badly, let's say we go to Forest and lose 2-0 and then lose 3-0 against Man United, I think he'll be gone.
Yeah.
Because we'll be bottom of the league by that point, or we'll be as good as. So, yeah, and they're not going to risk it. They're going to bring somebody in that they know is going to get instant results to the end of the season and keep us up.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
go and play a style that will get us the points that we need, and then we'll sort it in the summer.
Yeah, no, I agree, and this is another issue that I think as well, and we did mention this last week. We've burned through so many winnable games where we've not won. Playing poor teams at home, and now I'm looking at the fixtures ahead, and I mean we've got Southampton at home after Everton, where you'd be looking at that and going, okay, come on, let's do something there. But I mean Everton away now under Dyche, that's not going to be easy. That's really not going to be.
I can't believe they didn't sign anybody though. I cannot believe they didn't get anybody through the door. They sell Anthony Gordon for 45 million. I don't rate it, to be honest, but still, they get rid of an option. They bring that money in, and they still can't get him anybody on deadline day.
Well, that is where I'm looking at it. And Leeds United have had Jesse Marsch for a year. We've had 13 new signings or whatever it is that he's brought in. He's had all this time to be with the players, the tactics, everything. If we go to Everton and we don't, we should win that game, really. Their manager will have been there less than a month. Like, if we can't go there and beat Everton, what is going on? There's just, you can't go on, can you, like that?
The feeling that they've got behind the club as well, just because Dyche has come in, hasn't changed their problems. The players are still not very good. They're underconfident, and the fans are still going ballistic at the ownership. So I agree with you 100%. We have to go there and we have to win that game. And, there's other teams as well. I saw a stat the other day that Palace have only got 1 game between now and April against the team that's below them in the league. Every team that they're playing, apart from this one, I can't remember who it was, but between now and April, against teams above them in the league. So they're going to get dragged into it as well. And, we have now the resources to start pulling away and picking points up.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I'm even looking at a team like Aston Villa who've just, 10 points above us now. They've won them a couple of games, got Emery in, and they've just 3 wins, and they're straight out of it. Yeah. So, it's absolutely massive. I can feel the nerves jangling already, to be honest.
I'm feeling it. But I do feel for Everton. I mean, I don't like Everton particularly, but I think that's more because of Lampard. Now that he's gone, as a fan
I like them as a club. I really like Everton as a club. Yeah.
I mean, I wish they'd have kept him as long as possible.
Same.
The guy's an absolute fraud. We won't see him back in the Premier League anyway. So.
No, definitely not. I can't see it. Good stuff. Well, Jason, I'm sure we'll reconvene hopefully next week.
Yeah, anytime, mate.
I tend to think what we'll be saying.
We'll put the world to rights. 2:00 on Sunday. I'll be thinking of you, mate.
Good stuff. Well, if you've enjoyed this video, please give us a like. If you want to get more content on Leeds United and clubs around West Yorkshire, please subscribe to the channel. But we're hoping for 3 points, Jason. But pleasure chatting to you as always, mate. And let's just see what we get, and I'll see you on the other side, mate.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me again.